as a DM, it could be tempting to force our players to deal with the simple obstacles of the world. The rules are there after all, and unfortunately, all it takes is one spell to ruin our plans for world domination or just for a fun encounter. Yes, I'm looking at you, night encounters after level 5, Leomund's Tiny Hut. In this video, we'll look at spells like Leomund's Tiny Hut, Goodberry, and Windwalk that change the rules of the game and take things from realism to fantasy. And we'll address how to incorporate them in your game in a way that will be fun for both you and your players. Hey friends, my name's Timothy, though some people do call me Tim. That stinker you saw was Bello. I'm a professional dungeon master, and here on my channel, I help you improve your Dungeons & Dragons game. Let's get to it. Inherently, there are a couple of problems with realism that we're pretty aware of. Realism is boring. It's literally the reason why we play games like Dungeons & Dragons, so that we can escape the humdrum, the normal, the plain, the boring, and we can get over to a world of fantasy and magic and excitement and change and differences. We can enjoy the crazy things that we never thought were possible, because in our world, they're not. Most of the time when we come to the table, we're not some mighty hero back from the battlefield looking to become a humdrum accountant and sit in a room pushing papers all day. No offense if you're an accountant. Sorry about that. We come to the table wanting to feel powerful and heroic and to have awesome power in our hands. We're not really usually showing up so that we can count how many arrows we fired or how much rations we have and how much those weigh. But as DMs, we know that only in contrast can things feel amazing. Only when we know what it's like to deal with those minutiae can we feel freed and amazing and powerful when through our actions we overcome those things and instead are able to explore a world that doesn't involve such limitations. Unfortunately for us as DMs, our players aren't usually coming into the game with that level of cognizance. They're not usually looking at how they feel until after they feel it. And that leaves us in a little bit of a bind. By putting their characters through that situation, we know that they will appreciate that change all the more. Also, some of those encounters are just dead fun. Spells like Tiny Hut, unfortunately for us, make some encounters very difficult to have or just really trivial. But at the same time, that is a benefit to the players. As long as those themes have been grounded and created beforehand, the player gets to feel powerful, and we don't want to take that away from them. We absolutely want these spells in the game. So what's the solution? How do we make these game-changing spells fun for the players while also grounding them in the fiction? First and foremost, we can establish the realism early. It doesn't matter if our characters at 5th level can create tiny huts, if at 1st, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th level they have a nighttime encounter that establishes the themes of the game and tells them, hey, this is a dangerous situation for you. They get to feel powerful by overcoming something that would have otherwise been a major hassle later on in their careers. Secondly, we can help them to realize that their characters stand out, that they are special, that the rest of the world doesn't have access to these same kinds of powerful abilities that they have. We can have commoners gush over their good berries, over the spell that they use to defend them of a nighttime. We can have them be super popular at the rest spots and have people trying to crowd in on their space, hoping to take advantage of the safety that their powerful magic provides. We can make people standoffish or confused by how little they seem to be bothered by the simple things that rule the lives of the common folk. Making them stand out not only helps to encourage them to feel more powerful, but also underscores the realism of the situation, even if they are not subject to it. And that enhances that feeling that, oh man, my choice was excellent in taking this spell. Third, we can embrace the fantasy elements of our game. We can highlight just how amazing those things are, and we can celebrate with our players when they have access to something that the regular people don't. We can help them to feel special and powerful, and we can highlight those things instead of worrying about the little encounters that we can't run. Start thinking about the amazing things that they get to avoid and how they can feel powerful, and help them to feel that on a regular basis. But, of course, there is a way for us to have our Goodberry and eat it too. While it's vitally important that we establish the themes early on and help our players to realize what normal is, what we can also do is occasionally subvert their expectations regarding the use of such spells. All spells like Tiny Hut, Wind Walk have some kind of a weakness built into them that can be exploited on an occasional basis by the Dungeon Master in order to change up the routine and help them to realize that even though they are more powerful than your average commoner, they are not invulnerable and the world is a big, dangerous place. It's important for us to understand what normal use looks like, and once we understand what normal use is, it's a lot easier for us to decide when players are abusing the privilege. It's not common, but it does happen that players will not only accept that they can use a spell, but they'll try to find ways to abuse it in a fashion that is undesirable for the game. When we see that kind of use, we can push back. Because we know that we can subvert expectations and we can change things around in order to create situations that still challenge the party, we can best guide our party towards appropriate use by pushing back only when they go a little too far. Miraculously, when our players are taking proper precautions and putting their tiny hut in the middle of a secluded glade that they have used a survival check to locate elsewhere, we're probably not going to push back on that. But if they create a tiny hut in the middle of a goblin's den when the goblins are out hunting and they come back, it might be a thing that there's a shaman capable of casting Dispel Magic that they could go to in another goblin tribe and come back with additional warriors, since they've got an entire day to plan after all. Ultimately, at the end of the day, we want to make sure that our players are having a good time. And if they're having a good time by breaking the rules of reality, because those are rules that in their real life they don't really care for, we don't want to take that away from them. By establishing realism early, making players stand out, and occasionally subverting expectations, we can allow game-changing spells to take place in our game in such a way that our players will feel empowered, excited, and more immersed in the narrative. And ultimately, isn't that what we all want? My encouragement to you is that you play around with these game-changing spells. Try making sure that you keep level-appropriate encounters that subvert or don't subvert these expectations, and take a look at how your players are leaning in or out of those groaning moments when you dispel their magics. If you've had ways that these game-changing spells have made a positive impact at your table, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. If you're interested in hearing more and improving your game further, feel free to hit the subscribe or check out another video. Thanks so much. Take care now. Hey, buddy. Whoa, that's not okay. Not okay. Not okay.